the McLeod's daughters exercise. So where we left it off, we have the ambience is in, we've got a little bit of balance happening with those, and we did have a look at creating a sound effect track for the four-wheel drive. Let's see what else has been supplied to us for use in this particular clip. Now, again, what is going on here? Sorry. I do prefer using Workspace. I recommend doing it as well. It is a good way to preview the WAV file, as we sort of saw before. So I'm just going to quickly find that. Desktop, clouds. Here we go. So nope, that's the actual thing itself. I probably should have found this before I started the recording. Bear with me. Yes, yes, and effects files. Great. So what other effects have we been given to use here? We have, done the door. So there's the four-wheel drive approach, idle, blah, 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 car door. We'll skip all of that. Now we've got gates. We've got lots and lots and lots of gates, which is beautiful because he is letting himself out of that hay pen. What I'm doing right now is I'm just quickly looking at the size of these, because we've got 8 from one sort of sound effects library, it looks like. And then we've got another, 8 or 9 or so from some other sound effects library. If they're the same size, then there's a good chance it could be a double up, but I don't see any numbers that are exactly the same size. So it does look like they're all original, different sounding gates. Again, let's just have a bit of a listen to them and see what they're like. Yeah, there are, of course, many, you can get libraries of just doors, which are gigabytes and gigabytes in size, because every door is a bit different. This one here does sound a bit like a chain link opening. That sounds like a chain link closing or opening, to be honest. This is more like a slidey door. And I don't think we saw any of those, so that's probably going to be useless. Could use it. It's got the chain thing. Again, like for the opening, we could use it as an element. It's a close, I guess. That sounds like a metal drawer. That's definitely a close. You can hear the impact. That's not bad. That sounds a bit more like what I'm looking for. Okay, well, we've got a lot of... What the hell is this? Even just look at the waveform, you can see which ones look a little bit strange. Okay. All right. So we do have a few different opens. The closes, as you can tell, are really easy to see because you can see the waveforms. Again, one of the reasons why Workspace is really handy. Obviously, a close here, and here, and here, and here. I have no idea why that just distorted before. So we can kind of separate them a little bit with what we see just in the screen there. Anyway, let's have a little bit of a look at these gates themselves. Now, the beautiful thing about the gates, of course, is we have a sync effects track, which is the third track down. All of you that did, hand it in, it was Nick and Mia. You did seem to separate them. Again, great idea. It's going to make your life easier because we can see the transients. So let's just play. Oopa. I'm going to mute the dialogues for a second and we can just focus on these. Interesting. There's no definite open and no definite close.
Hot to keep them yarded.
Yeah. No luck with the trucks.
Oh.
Okay, so this here seems to be the close. The open is actually on the screen and it happens here. You can actually see it on the screen. Okay, so we've got the open there, we've got the close there. Now, we can choose to either get rid of all of that, or we can add, and layer sound effects, just like we sort of had a go at doing with the four-wheel drive. Let's just start with the close, because that's the easiest one to see. So yeah, let's have a listen to what's there.
No luck with the trucks.
It is a metal hollow kind of thing. Which one sounds right? No. Maybe, but it's a bit massive. Okay, I'm preferring this one. So let's just, yeah, grab that, drag it down. I'm just going to plonk it into the effects track underneath the existing gate. That's pretty loud. I may just turn it down straight away. And again, I'm just going to look at the onset transient, which is of course just the start of the sound, and try and line it up as best I can. Now for this sort of a lineup, we're probably not going to be able to use grid mode. Yeah. So grid mode, of course, is going to make it snap to the grid. That's not going to really help us get everything exact. So let's go to slip mode. That means that I'm going to be able to move within the grid. And I'm going to zoom right in there, and yeah, it's pretty close. Let's see what this looks like. We're just looking at the gate closed at the moment. Make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Now that's for the tracks.
Oh.
So that works. We've beefed up the close itself, you know, which it goes on for a decent length of time. Let's turn it up a little bit and see if we can make it sound more massive. Don't know why you'd want to, but...
Now that's for the tracks.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little bit loud now. Again, it's not about drawing attention to itself unless it's some sort of huge look at me thing, like, oh, a building exploding, then yeah, you really want people to notice it. If it's something as simple as that, it's more like just adding to the texture of it, making it as believable as possible. Because remember, all of these effects were recorded by accident on location behind the dialogue, and they don't really cut the mustard most of the time. Yeah, if you're lucky, the location recordist may have had some experience in post-production, and what they will do is they'll go, okay, so what things were touched, you know, what vehicles were used, and then they will go through and they will record wild recordings, you know, cameras off having lunch, and he's just there picking up and recording all the sounds that are, you know, that were used in this sequence. So you may be fortunate and get that. You may not. Yeah, it's a pity. But yeah, heading off now. See you guys up. Oh, okay. Bye, Mia. Abandon us. No, go and do something more fun. Go on. Cool. So let's see if we can find like a gate open that's going to work as well. So of course these ones here with a hard impact waveform, not going to be useful. Some of these earlier ones sounded pretty good. Yeah, I don't mind that. That to me sounds like metal and it's got some chain in there. Yeah, you guys can hear that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
just one thing.
Sure.
Is, because we took it out of the OMF file and brought it down, if there's dialogue in the background, there'll still be that sound of the gate opening or closing in the dialogue sound, in the dialogue track.
Yeah, well, that was recorded as an action during the dialogue. It's, you know, if they are working with props and stuff like that and utilizing them during their delivery of the dialogue, you will get a recording of it. But remember, that recording is going to be off mic. So it won't sound particularly natural. Every microphone has a certain sweet spot where it wants to pick up a certain sound from, you know, or a certain placement. With the bug microphones, you really want them quite close to the sound source, otherwise it's not really going to work. So yes, the sounds have been captured. Are they captured well? Yeah, not really. So what we're doing right now is, you know how we're kind of following the waveform and adding to it? We're layering in. So we're still using that off mic sound, which is not ideal, but we're layering in sounds that are recorded nicely over the top of it in sync, and it sounds better.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing in this instance. It would be ideal, again, if it was completely clean and we could just build it up from scratch. But yeah. Oh, wait, I did pick one. What was it? This one. Yeah, great. So again, click, drag down. Here we go. And let's, again, all I want to do is I'm going to basically use this as a guide up here. Now, if I pull this all the way across, ooh, am I going to get it? No, it might just have enough space for it. Maybe. What I'll do is I'll just shorten the end there. I don't want to go over the gate close. I'm just going to pull it across so that it starts at the same time. So that here, I'll make it bigger. This looks like the start. I'm just going to drag that so it's sort of in the same spot. That looks pretty good to me. And again, never forget to fade in and fade out. This is going to be quite loud. So how much did I turn the other one down by? This I turned down by about 10 dB. Yeah, that's a substantial amount. But remember, if that's recorded well, the microphone's really close. It's getting a nice, pristine, loud, full frequency recording. So it's not weird to turn it down so that it sits, you know, a bit behind, because the camera, you know, is pretty far away from the gate. So it wouldn't be the same perspective as a, you know, a close mic'd sound. So we need to compensate that either by turning it down. You know, things that are further away are usually quieter. Things that are further away usually have less high frequency too. So you can usually sell the distance by using things like basic volume, EQs to get rid of some of the high frequency, sometimes even a little bit of reverb. You know, because the further away you are from the sound source, the more reflections you will catch of it bouncing off things. And that's basically what it is what reverb is. So let's see what these two layered up sound like.
To keep them yarded.
Yeah. No luck with the trucks.
I'll turn it up a bit. Didn't really hear it that much. Let's go back to where it was, 0.
Too hot to keep them yarded.
Yeah. No luck with the trucks.
Oh, there's one more chance.
Yeah.
I left a couple of messages with the Seymours. They're not returning my calls.
Ooh.
Yeah, they probably.
This one's nice. If you have a listen to what got caught off cam, that's a nice kind of groan to it.
They're not returning my calls.
Unfortunately, it's underneath the dialogue too.
They're not returning. They're not returning.
Yeah. Starts there. Okay, so in that instance, we can just sort of try and figure out, there we go. Yeah, one other thing that can be handy, if you can't see a specific point in the picture, you know, where you have like a hard sound coming in like that, right on a movement, be that someone, you know, opening up a gate or closing a gate, there's another way of marking out the point, yeah? So if I just, still in the old, you know, slip mode up here, if I just click and drag, I can pretty much, you know, depending on how much I'm zoomed in, I can slowly scrub through and see what the action is of what he's doing. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to scrub through. He's reaching out with his left hand, grabbing a gate and opening it up. So let's see, just by scrubbing, when that moment is. That is when he grabs it, and that's when he opens it. So it's about here. Now I'm going to stop scrubbing at that point, and I'll click some around there, and then I'm going to hit the enter key. Now by the enter key, I mean the one near the numeric keypad on the bottom right. If I do that, I get a marker point. Yep. And this is something that we use a lot when we're spotting in film and TV. If we're spotting ADR, Foley, sound effects, sometimes you just go through. It's a lot faster to work by going through and saying, okay, this is gate open. And then we can sort of scroll through and see when we can see the gate close. Where's the gate close? Just
They're
listen
not
out for
returning my
it.
calls.
Yeah, they probably won't.
Now this is, oh, that is the gate close. So we do have an onset for the gate close. And again, I hit enter, gate close, and then hit enter again, and it disappears. And what I wind up with are these lines. Now I'm going to hide this video a little bit so you can see the line. Can you see the lines in the timeline there? There's a yellow kind of tag up top with the name of it. That's when the gate opens and the gate closes. And there's a yellow line that goes all the way down the tracks.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, cool. These can be, again, really handy. And honestly, if you don't have a lot of time, one thing that, you know, you can do, and this is where marker points are fantastic, you can kind of play it through. And if you see something in a scene, mark it away, just hit enter twice. So if I'm going to try and play it through and see if I can see the next gate open and just hit it on the fly without stopping.
We won't. I've been talking to Harry.
He'd really do that. And Alex?
Oh, not Alex.
I'm stuck. The truckies aren't going to cross Harry
Yeah.
Ryan.
We did it on the fly. Was it perfect? No. But I can see there's somewhere around here there was another gate open, and I can see that's where it is, so I can adjust it. You can just click and move these marker points, you know. And the other was a close, which is right there. And again, click and move. And now we've marked those out as well. So, you know, it is a really handy way of marking out moments where you're basically telling yourself, hey, man, something belongs here, you know. Yep. So let's go back here and deal with this gate open and gate close.
They're not returning my calls.
This is the other nice thing about having sounds coming from location, even if they, you know, have been, you know, recorded off mic, as I mentioned before, not ideally. This sounds lovely. You know, that groan is beautiful. Even if I decide I want to use this again, the same sound effect for the open that I used before, it'll sound different because that one has no groan in it. So the way, like, you know, the sum of the effect will make it different, even though we're using the same open. So, you know, just because I'm lazy at the moment, I'm going to highlight that. If I hit Option and click and drag on this with the hand tool, it will automatically copy it. And I can bring it over here, try and line it up with my yellow tag and let go. And I haven't messed up that one. I've, you know, highlighted it, hit Option, click and drag. I've just done that. That's all I've done. And now I've got that line that I can sort of line it up to. That was not a really bad pun. That was just me running out of English. Let's have a listen to what that opening of the gate sounds like.
Couple of messages with the Seymours. They're not returning my calls.
Now, I always like to go back if I've done something like this and just check that it doesn't sound like a repeat, because that's pretty average. So let's see.
Whether to give up and let them go or not. Too hot to keep them yarded.
Yeah. No luck with the trucks.
Oh, there's one more chance. I left a couple of messages with the Seymours. They're not returning my calls.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I did notice it a little bit. One other thing that you do notice when you're doing stuff like this, and it happens quite often with doors and windscreen wipers in cars for some reason. If you have a look at this, between where he opens the gate and closes the gate, he takes about 8 steps, and it's not enough time. They've just cut it down for time.
Yeah. No luck with the trucks.
Like, that's too quick. He couldn't have gotten through there, and, you know. But if that's the case, sometimes just for you don't want to, you know, bring the audience's attention to the fact that the timing in the edit that's off screen may not be the greatest. So sometimes you might just want to turn it down for that. You put it in anyway because it needs to be there. But if it's too loud, it might, you know, make the audience go, well, that's a bit weird. He opened that and then he moved 10 feet in like 0.3 seconds, whatever, and it doesn't quite work just because of weird things called physics. Okay, yeah, I'm not a fan of that open, so I'm just going to go back and try and find another gate open. What's this one like? Yeah, I could do it. Try to listen to a few more. No. No. Oh, all right, let's use that one. And again, we've got the yellow line, so as long as we plonk it next to it, we can do the fine tuning at a later date. That looks really close to the other one. It's the same thing. God, there are a lot of double ups. That's a different size. That's kind of annoying. Sorry. No. That's the one that was. There's a voice in the background of that one. This is just one. It's okay. Okay, I don't know what the name of this one, but it does sound a little bit like it came from the location. It sounds like that gate. Yeah, so let's just use that.
They're not returning my calls.
Yeah, they probably.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fade that out underneath. Let's see what this sounds like.
They're not returning my calls.
Yeah, they probably won't.
Yeah, this here is, it sounds more like the gate moving. It doesn't sound like it closing, so I'm going to cheat it. Yeah, I'm going to cheat it, and I'm going to make it so that it closes a little bit later. And I'm going to use that as like the gate swinging back shut. Because right now we've got the gate opening, which is pretty much this area here. We have the gate swinging, which happens underneath the dialogue. Then he walks through. Then it swings and groans back close, and we'll make it close somewhere around here. Now, I think that's going to sound a little bit more natural. So we're kind of cheating. I don't necessarily want it to go over her dialogue, so I'll make sure that it doesn't come in hard on her dialogue, because dialogue should never be obscured or anything. And let's just chuck in a couple of fades. Now let's see if that works. Make it a little bit bigger so we can sort of have a look at the timing.
Just with the Seymours, they're not returning my calls.
Yeah, they probably won't. I've been talking to Harry.
That works. You know what I mean? That's just got a natural kind of rhythm to it. There's something else you may want to watch out for when you are doing stuff like this. Yeah. Just make sure that the timing works with the action. Are there any questions? Is this all good?
Yeah, that's good so far.
All right, cool. I'm just going to hide that. We've sort of dealt with these. Once you've dealt with the markers that you've made, sometimes it's a nice idea to delete them. You know, there's a couple of ways you can do that. One of them is if you hover over the marker, you see how it turns into the hand tool? If you hit Option, it turns into a hand with a minus tool. If you click it, it just gets rid of it. Another way of doing it is you bring up the marker window, which is, funnily enough, in the Windows menu. Go to the Windows menu, click on that, scroll down. There is a memory locations window, which I think is Command 5 is the shortcut. Yep. And this thing comes up. This has all of the markers that we've created. We just did gate open and gate closed. So if you hover over that and hold down the Option key, it turns into a pencil with the eraser pointing down, and you can just click on it and get rid of it. So that's done. Now let's have a little bit of a look at this one here. Yep, that's definitely the gate opening again. So let's find another one. What did we use last time? This one, I think. All right, what do we got? Use that one. This one, just because it's different, you know. The other one sounds a little bit too much like hollow metal drawers to me, so I'm just going to have a look at this one. It sounds a little bit slidey for my liking, but let's just see what happens. I'll turn it down.
His action, he like pulls a bit more in this action.
He does?
Like you can see his arm pulling a bit longer.
Let's have a look, see if it works.
He'd really do that. And Alex?
Okay. Yeah. So if it is like a longer kind of shaky drag, it would work. What do we got here? Try that. That's even longer. So when does he start to pull it? Right about here. Yeah. Let's have a look.
He'd really do that. And Alex?
Okay. That's not bad. It does sort of, yeah, work with the movement. You're right. Yeah, didn't see that.
Do that. And Alex?
The nice thing about this is it's all happening off screen, like, you know, below the camera there. So you can really get away with a lot, you know. It's a lot harder when it's visible. But we want to maybe reinforce that bang again. So let's pick another one. And again, this time, if it's a close, we may even be able to go over and copy our original one. And again, Option click, drag it across and just drop it and zoom in with the R and T keys again. And that should make it a nice close. Let's have a look at that one.
He'd really do that. And Alex?
Oh, not Alex.
Hmm. Yep. Okay, so I'll get rid of these two as well. And let's play it on. I can't remember if there are any more here.
And Alex?
Oh, not Alex.
I'm stuck. The truckies aren't going to cross Harry Ryan. If I don't get a truck, I don't get to the sale.
Maybe not. I got a whole truck and I don't need it. I got room for an extra 100. Look, I know it's half of what you wanted to sell, but it's better than nothing. At least you'll have enough to meet the loan payment.
Shows Harry he can't run everything.
See you tomorrow morning then.
Oi.
What?
Thanks.
No worries.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. They were the only real effects in there that I can see. So there's just the 3 gate open and closes while he gets out of the paddock and the 4-wheel drive. Yep. So that's, you know, in this particular scene, that's pretty much all of the effects dealt with. You could go through and, you know, add little spot effects to the ambience and stuff like that, and just to make it a bit richer. And what I mean by that, we did have a little bit of a chat to it before when we were reviewing some of the students' track lays. Do you remember when we were looking at the birds twittering and stuff, and how if it was happening over the dialogue, sometimes it's not really, you know, look, it is natural, you know, when you're outside and you're talking to your friend, it isn't like all of a sudden the birds shut up, you know, because you're talking. They don't care. However, if you think about it in a psychological way, you're looking directly at the person you're talking to, you're focusing on that, and you can see their lips move as well. So, you know, it isn't like the birds are as much of an intrusion as if just throwing everything into a mix and playing it out as speakers with the camera doing all the movements for you and stuff. It's a different psychological focus, let's say. So a lot of times, yeah, if you had things like those birds, you would introduce them at the beginning before the dialogue started, maybe when the truck's in there, and then pull it down so it's out of the way. If you wanted to, you know, make it even richer, you could, let's say, I'm just going to create a couple more effects tracks here. And this is something that you could do if you wanted to. I'm going to go Command Shift New. Let's create 2 mono audio tracks. And I'm just going to call it SFX2, oh, sorry, SFX3 and SFX4. Now, this is a little bit beyond the scope of just working with the files that we've been provided, but it might be an idea just to sort of, you know, show you guys what else can be done. Again, there aren't really that many effects in here aside from the gate and the truck. So let's bring in some spot effects of birds. Now, it can be argued that this would be ambience stuff, but it could also be in the sound effects track layer as well as like another layer, a way to sort of make the ambiences a little more in depth. But also, I would like to just sort of take you through the process of using the sound effects search engine, you know, that I think we had a little bit of a look at before. We did have a look at freesoundeffects.org, didn't we? Anyone?
I'm not entirely sure, as I have a terrible memory, but I think so.
Yeah, the friends, well, let's have a little bit look here. If I go onto Firefox and I just type in freesound.org, I'm pretty sure it's freesound.org. Yeah, that's it. And again, this is one of those websites where you will have to log in and create an account. It has never sent me any spam, so just saying. Log in. And great. Let's see if we can find some AUST. AUST is usually a good abbreviation for the beginning of Australia. I mean, nothing else really starts with Ost.
I thought that was Austria.
Austria.
AUS was Australia.
I'm just going to go AUST and birds and see if anything comes up. Kookaburras. Yeah, sure. Why not? That's it. Wow. Let's have a listen. I'm not hearing anything, probably because in the loopback audio I turned off the system audio. Great. So it's Firefox. There we go. Sounds a bit tropical. There they are. Some of these are really nice recordings, actually. What I might do, I know what kind of a bird I want. I want a currawong. Now, I'm assuming you guys might know what a currawong is. Oh, wow, near Lismore campus. Ha! Yeah, I was down there just before. Oh, let's not talk about it. Go COVID. Now, this one here has 2 MP3 files and 2 and 3 WAV files. Never get an MP3. They're just terrible. Let's just stick with the WAV files. We've got a Dawn one. We've got Aussie Bush with currawong. Let's have a listen to that. See, I actually prefer the sound of these birds than the one that was handed over with the sound effects. This sounds like a really open kind of paddocky kind of place. Let's have a listen to this. They're currawongs. There's something about a currawong to me that just sounds more like a, it just reminds me that we're in Australia. Sorry, was that a message that someone sent me? I got a little.
No, that was my laptop.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, look, I'll just download that. And remember, all you do is you follow the link. Once you're in there, you just click on the download and it will download automatically, yeah? And there is no limit to what you can download. So this is a really good asset to have if you do want to, you know, go off on a search, and if there's something that you feel that you want to hear in there, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So this is taking a second to download.
What did you look up again for that one?
Currawong, that particular sound, that morning kind of magpie thing, it's a currawong. A currawong bird, you've definitely seen it around. It's yeah, that's a currawong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the sound of them in the morning is just a really Aussie thing, you know. Actually, I wonder if there's some magpies as well. Oh, let's not, yes, okay. We just found one anyway. So just remember that that is still an asset that you can utilize to get in other sounds if you want to. Just give it a second to download. Now, where I'm probably going to put it is on the transition. Now, the transition is like, you know, from one edit to the next, one scene to the next. I'm thinking maybe here. There's someone there who's sort of doing some sweeping and some cleaning and stuff. Let's say it's morning. I don't know. I'm assuming it's morning because the sun is definitely at the side. You see how there's the shadow of the house? This is either early morning or it's late afternoon because the sun is near the horizon because we're copying a shadow. If I just throw the currawong in, you know, people in the country get up early, you know. Yeah. So let's put the currawong right in here to establish that it's morning, and then, yeah. And then we'll pull it out before we sort of get to the truck parking. That's kind of what I'm thinking of using it for. This sort of thing is, technically you can call it a transition. We're transitioning from internal, you know, country house day to exterior paddock morning. Yeah. What sound are we going to use to sell it? Because if, have you guys read scripts? I've probably asked you this before.
I have.
Yeah, if you've read a script and like someone was describing this environment here where most of the dialogue takes place, it'd be exterior, country, morning, day, probably, yeah. So that's what you've got to sell. Exterior, we got wind, cool. Country, yeah, we got some country bird sort of thing. Morning, we're not really selling that yet. And something like a little currawong could sell it. So why not? Yeah, I highly recommend reading lots of scripts, by the way. It's good for you spiritually and everything. Great. So let's just do the input audio. I know exactly where this is, so I'm going to go Command-Shift-I, and we'll get our input audio, window. Another way to do it, of course, is to just go to File, import audio. And of course, the shortcut, remember, is always there. So it's something that you might want to reference later. Import audio. And let's go to downloads, which is where I dragged this from. Now they called it, yeah. The other thing that happens is it's named something crazy. Kangaroo Vindaloo. This is an Aussie Indian guy who just goes around and records crazy stuff. He actually has some really good recordings, Kangaroo Vindaloo. That's from 2012. It's got a whole bunch of metadata. Let's just add. No, we need to copy it because it's 16-bit. Done. It's going to put it in the audio files folder. We're going to put it in the clip list. We could have done a new track, but then we're going to have a new track, have to drag it from it, and it's just going to be a pain. So clip list is fine. Let's put it in the clip list, and it comes in selected. That's how you can find it really quickly if you can't remember the name. Actually, we should have a little bit of a look at the whole, how we can find files. Have you guys done a search for files in your clip list before? No? Okay. Let's say that, oh my God, I imported it and I accidentally highlighted, grabbed something else, and all of a sudden, oh my God, I forgot what the name of it is. It's not highlighted anymore. Now what do I do? Sometimes people re-import it. You really don't have to do that. You know? If you hit Command, oh no, is it Command Shift F? Yeah, Command Shift F. Yeah, you can go Command Shift and F, and it's like a little search tool just for the audio files that you have in your clips list, which is of course this big thing over here, which if you can't see, it just means that you need to click that and show it. Oh, I'll cancel that and then it'll actually let me do it. Yeah, if you can't see it, that's just that little menu pop-out thing, the button down here. You could also just go to the clips menu, click on that and go find. Same thing. Great. Now I remember that Vindaloo was in there. Who could forget? It's Kangaroo Vindaloo. So I'm just going to type in V-I-N-D. Oh, it kind of changes it as you type. So you can go, okay, cool, there it is. And now I can bring it and drag it in. And that's a pretty long file. So let's zoom it out a bit. I'm going to undo that, make sure I didn't go over something. And then redo is just like undo. Undo is Command Z, redo is Command Shift Z. And then it sort of goes back there. And we haven't really picked a part of it yet, so I'll just drag it over here. We'll pick
Were
a part.
those sound effects files meant to be mono?
No, most sound effects are actually stereo. I don't know why all the ones that came across in the clouds are mono, but a lot of sound effects, especially if you're recording an ambience, you would want to record it stereo. Yeah, I think stereo microphones were still a little bit of a thing that you didn't see too commonly around the time of McLeod's, which I think was the early 2000s from memory. Now, everyone and their dog has a couple kind of thing, especially if they're, yeah. So do I need it stereo? Yeah, maybe we'll have it stereo. I don't know. Let's just sort of have a bit of a scrub and have a listen to it. Not bad. That's it. This one in the background. That's just Australia in the morning for me. So I'm just going to highlight this. Keep it stereo. That's going to be heaps probably. And then if you hit Command T, it'll trim your selection. So Command T does this. I selected the length that I wanted. Command T just consolidates that selection. I can still pull it out if I want to, but whatever. And let's just drag it and put it at the beginning here and see if this is going to sell the whole idea of morning. Now, this is too long, but I'll just play it and see what happens. Weird how to me that just makes it sound like morning all of a sudden. Now, I do not want there to be those loud screeches. I think I want the Currawongas to come in hard at the top, the little bauble-y kind of sounds. And yeah, again, I'm going to trim it a bit like I did to the others. It's a good idea to do it, just before the cut. So the cut's here, and I'll do a 2-frame fade, just like we did for the ambiences, because it is sort of like highlighting the ambiences if you want. Yeah, and what I might do is I'm going to fade this out quite long underneath that truck pulling up. Yeah. So let's do something along the lines of this. If you hit Command F, you can choose the fade out that you want. And in the same way as we adjusted the fade out before, so click and drag and click and, and drag it around. So we'll do something along the lines of that. Hit OK. And now let's have a listen and see if that, we don't want to notice them go. We just want the Currawongs to go, hey, it's morning, and then leave. Basically, that's their only job. Yeah. And we've got those birds in the back, and it's almost like we congratulate in there. So that's like an establishing sound effect. It just establishes that we're there in the morning, So that's something else that you may think about putting in there if you want to, Sometimes also, just to give it a bit more depth, see how here we're kind of, we start far away and they're far away from each other. And what happens during the scene is they get closer and closer and closer together, and they wind up right under like this tree here. What you might want to do is maybe get like a single insect kind of buzzing and just bring that in slowly. And it's going to slightly change the background so that as they get closer, we kind of perceive it a little bit. But that's, if it's quick turnaround TV or something like that, you probably wouldn't go to that extreme. Just saying that they are some options that you have as far as your sound effects are concerned. Yep. Right. Well, what I might do, have a little bit of a go at this sort of stuff if you want to. I might stop the recording here because we are going to have a look at importing some music as well. But I think if I separate the, the final sound effects thing that we just did to like a music lesson, that'll probably be a good thing, and you can sort of choose between the recordings. Yeah. So we'll stop this for now. Great.